All right, scholars, welcome back to class. Hope everyone is having a great afternoon so far. Oh, by the way, I got some good news for you all. I want you all to mark your calendars for July 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th because Scholar Navigator will be hosting our very first online summer academy. And I'm super excited because we're going to have some really talented college students and folks from different careers who will be talking to you and other high school students across the country about their college experiences and about their career journey. Plus, we are going to be talking about how to make the most of your college journey, whether that means starting a student club, studying abroad in a different country, dealing with being a first generation college student, or how to handle going far away from home, figuring out your college majors, internships, and so forth. And by the way, it is going to be free, and all high school students are strongly encouraged to tune in. And we really want those of you who will be graduating from high school this year and starting college in the fall to especially make sure that you tune in because I know what it feels like to be excited and nervous about that first day of college. And so this is a great opportunity to help make that transition to college as easy and as smooth as possible. All right. So I see some new folks, actually two new folks, who have joined our online class for the first time. Hello and welcome. I'm Quentin Lampkin and I'm the instructor for today's web class. And to all of our returning scholars, just want to give you a good hello as well and glad to see you back in class. Today we are going to be talking about a few things. We'll be talking about how to win scholarships to pay for college, whether we're talking about local, state, or national scholarships. And I mentioned before, but let me say it again for folks who are new to our class, who have joined us for the first time, that when I graduated from high school back in 2004, I won a full scholarship from Bill and Melinda Gates to go to college. And since then, I have either volunteered or I've interned or I've worked professionally for a number of organizations that support and prepare students to gain access to scholarship money for college. And I'm going to be taking what I have learned from all of those experiences, and I want to give you all some important tips to help you be successful as possible in getting scholarship money for college. So here's what we're going to be talking about today, to be more specific. First, let me be very clear. We're not going to be talking about all that fluffy stuff and all that super basic stuff like what is a scholarship and how do I find them? I mean, don't misunderstand me. I think those are important questions, but come on, we we live in the age of Google. And I'm sure all of you in today's class know how to Google and know at least some baseline knowledge of what a scholarship is, meaning that, this is free money that you don't have to pay back. So instead of talking about what you already know to do, I want to spend time talking about some key strategies for winning scholarships so that you can be as effective as possible when searching for scholarship money for college. And then I want to go over some financial literacy tools that I think are super important for you to keep in mind, especially after you've done all that hard work to find and apply for scholarships and get money for college. I want to make sure that you are spending that money, that scholarship money at a college or a career school that will be the right fit for you financially, socially, academically, and all that. All right, so for returning folks, you already know the drill. we start every class with a pop quiz. Just remember to use your Q&A tool in the bottom right-hand corner to type in your answers. And of course, if you have dialed into today's class, you want to submit your answers on our Facebook page. And let me just say this, we have yet we have yet to have any scholars or parents or mentors or anyone actually to go on our Facebook page to leave ask a question, leave a comment. And so I wonder which of you folks will go down in history as being the very first to do so. Okay, so just remember, you can just type in Scholar Navigator on Facebook and you'll see where to submit your comments, questions, and where we'll be giving you back some answers. Okay, so you all, excuse me, you all are going to have 120 seconds to respond to this pop quiz, and there are going to be 3 pop quiz questions. I'm going to only read them one time, so I want you all to listen really carefully, okay? All right. First question. How many scholarships should you apply to? A, 1 to 3, B, 3 to 4, C, 5 to 7, D, as many as possible. Second question. If you do not win a scholarship, then it must mean A, I'm not smart enough, B, I'm a failure, C, I will not be able to find money to go to college, D, none of the above. Okay, third question. When should you start searching for scholarships? A, after I've been admitted into my dream college. B, I should wait until my friends start applying to scholarships. C, I don't know. D, I should start mapping my scholarship game plan as early as junior year or sooner. Okay, time is up. Let's check our answers. All right, so for the first question, the answer I'm looking for is D. Now, if you answered A, B, or C, it doesn't mean you are wrong, but let me explain why D is the answer I'm looking for. So you really want to apply to as many scholarships as possible because I want you all to keep in mind that winning scholarships for college is a numbers game. You know what I mean? It's like what's that saying that people say, don't put all your eggs in one basket? Well, it's the same with applying for scholarships. When you put so much pressure on applying to just 1 or 2 scholarships, then you are boxing yourself into a limited number of options. Because if you don't win, then you walk away from this entire process not having maximized it as much as possible. I mean, this is more than just a scholarship search strategy. This is a life lesson. You always want to have options. Because one thing that I can tell you as someone who has worked professionally behind the scenes in helping to select students for scholarships, and that is you can be a strong candidate for a scholarship and still not get it. Not because of you, not because of something you did or didn't do, but sometimes you don't win because of something that had absolutely nothing to do with you, which is why I emphasize to students over and over again to apply to as many scholarships as possible and make sure that your applications are of the highest quality possible because that's what we do as scholars. We do our best work period. And the cool thing about all this is that after you have applied to, let's say, 4 or 5 scholarships, you'll start seeing that most scholarships are pretty much asking for the same thing. So at some point, you can start reusing, recycling the same information. I mean, you're gonna probably need to make some small modifications here and there, but for the most part, you've already done 90% of the work when you start applying for that 6th or 7th or 10th scholarship application. Now, for the next question, the answer here is D. And let me explain exactly why not winning a scholarship does not mean you're not smart enough, doesn't mean you're not a failure, or you won't be able to find money for college. Because when I was going through the process and didn't win certain scholarships, I felt all these things. I felt like a failure, like I wasn't smart enough, like I would never win money to go to college. And the funny thing is, now I don't even remember the name of those other scholarships I didn't win, and you won't either. And the ones that said that I didn't fit the bill were offering me like $500 or $2,000. But had I given up, I never would have applied or won the Coca-Cola scholarship or the Gates Millennium Scholarship. And I say all of this because for some of you who don't get the scholarships you will work so hard for will probably feel like, quote unquote, a failure. But if or when it happens, I want you to remember what I'm about to tell you. You are not rateable. No organization, no person, no scholarship, or whatever can rate you. And trust me, you're going to learn a very important life lesson during this process of applying for scholarships, from winning some and getting rejected from others. And your mission is to not allow the rejections or the successes to define you. Because if you let rejection stop you, then you won't take the necessary risk required to reach your goals in life. And if you let one success define you, then you'll be stuck on that one win and forget that you still have to keep grinding and working and upping your game. And, I could spend all day talking about this, but let's keep moving along. Okay, how many of y'all answered D for the last pop quiz question? All right, so the funny thing about getting scholarships for college is that the earlier you start the whole process, the better, period. I mean, I'm not saying to start looking for scholarships in the first grade before you even learn how to write your name in cursive, but you want to start mapping a game plan, or at least start thinking about scholarships as early as possible when you are in high school. Because let me say this, not to discourage any of y'all who are seniors in high school, but if you wait until the last semester of your senior year in high school to start applying, then you have either missed a lot of deadlines, or you're going to be on a crunch to research, and then you got to select them, and then you have to apply for a lot of scholarships, which can be frustrating and overwhelming because you're not just applying to scholarships. I mean, you're also finishing school stuff, right? And some of y'all have part-time jobs or play sports, or maybe you're still, need to figure out your college choices. So there's already a lot on your plate, which is why I encourage students to get organized as soon as possible. And so my advice to students and their families is that you want to spend the summer between junior year and senior year in high school to start making a list of scholarships that you want to target. And you can even start drafting your essays for those scholarships. And then gives you some time, gives you a little runway to get some feedback on those essays as soon as possible, so that when the time comes to apply, all you need to do is just hit that copy and paste button for those essays. And I mean, come on, you've already done much, most of the work. And of course, if you are planning to start this process because you're a freshman or a sophomore in high school, I want you to just keep in mind to check that list of scholarships a few months before you start applying to those scholarships because you want to make sure that those scholarships are still available, or you just also just want to, I mean, it's always good to just check to make sure, they didn't change any of their eligibility requirements or their deadlines are still the same because scholarships tend to, change certain things from year to year. So you just want to make sure you're up to date. And since many more students are looking for scholarships online, I get it. I want to emphasize to all of you in today's class that, and I'm sure you already know this, but I just want to make it really clear that you want to make sure you go to trusted websites to find scholarships, right? I don't care how glossy, how colorful, how professionally, designed the website is. You want to make sure you can trust that website because some websites can be misleading or they can just be a scam. So you want to be careful with online resources when you're looking for scholarships because unfortunately, and this is a sad reality, there are some people out here who know how stressful the scholarship search process can be. So they try to do some shady things like ask you to pay a fee to find scholarship money for you. And this is just a rule of thumb, right? You just always want to keep this in mind that if you have to pay money to get scholarship money, then you want to double check that because most likely that is a scam. And let me make it very clear that no one, and I do mean no one, all right, I can start breaking out singing some Alicia Keys right now, but no one can guarantee you that if you pay them a fee that you will be able to win scholarship money because those are just lies, fairy tales, and fallacies. All right, just to be completely honest with you. And oh, and one more thing. You want to be careful with giving any scholarship organization personal information like your bank account numbers, your credit card numbers, or social security numbers. So before you do that, you just always want to make sure that you check in with your parents. You want to talk to a teacher. You can talk to a school counselor, your mentor, or any adult that you trust, older sibling, and so forth. Okay, so let's just go to our next slide. So at this point, I hope I've been very clear that a scholarship is free money that you do not need to pay back. Now I want to talk about what types of scholarships are in the world for you to apply for. And when you hear me, talk about scholarships, I want you to think of four categories, all right? I want you to think of academic, athletic, artistic, or leadership. And by academic, I mean scholarships that are awarded based on things like what you plan to study in college. For example, some organizations or companies are super interested in increasing the number of young men and women of color who study things like education, health, science, or technology in college. Next, we're going to talk about athletic scholarships, and you all already know what this means. You already know that there are scholarships out there for students who are serious about going to the NFL, the WNBA, etc. But there are also athletic scholarships for students who don't want to make a career out of the sport, but they just love the game and want to play in college. Okay, let's talk about artistic scholarships, right? So these are for folks who, I mean, they eat, they sleep, they love painting. Maybe you play an instrument or you're just so talented at, singing. Your vocal skills are just out of this world, or you just have some really cool dance moves. There are scholarships for you to be able to do these things in college. And just think of, any artistic talent that you have. And I mean, clearly I didn't list all of them. There are so many more that I didn't even mention. And I then want you to, once you have an idea of what your talent is, I want you to start thinking, about who in your community that you can go to for help and for support, who can help you identify scholarships for you to apply for. And then the last category, leadership, these types of scholarships will be for folks who have demonstrated that, that you are a leader, that you're a student leader in your school. Maybe you have served in the student government, or you have even started, a club in high school. Some of you are leaders in your community. Maybe you volunteer on the weekends at a animal shelter, or you make it a priority to help tutor, your peers, or, excuse me, even younger students in math or science. And then some of you are taking on leadership roles in your homes. Maybe you have, or you're just helping your parents with babysitting younger brothers or sisters, or like me, you got a part-time job in high school, so you can help pay some of your school fees. Just want you to just keep in mind that there are scholarships out here for you. All right. So as we think about the different types of scholarships. It can really be overwhelming, and I get this because it was overwhelming for me, during my process. To figure out where to start. Where do I start? And for me, what I have learned to do is to break it down. Right? Let's break this down. So I'm going to give you 4 things to keep in mind for how you can find scholarship money. All right. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to make time as soon as possible to go speak with your high school counselor. And you want to find out if he or she can just help you list out, and we're just going to pick a number. We're going to say 5, at least 5 scholarships that would be good for you to, apply for, given your academic, your athletic, your artistic, or your leadership profile. And I don't want you to stop there. The second thing I want you to do is pick up that phone. I want you to call or pull out that email, and pull out that laptop, and I want you to email some of the colleges or career schools that you are interested in attending, and you want to ask to speak with someone in the financial aid office. And when you get that person on the phone, right, you want to ask, him or her to share a list of academic, athletic, leadership, or artistic scholarships that, that particular school offers. And you want to ask them to point you to where you can find more information about those scholarships. And here's the thing, that person may likely just say, hey, here's a website that, you can learn more about the scholarships, that our school offers. And if they say that, that is totally fine. No big deal, but I want you to still reach out to them, because sometimes, schools may have a new scholarship that they haven't yet updated on their website. So you want to make sure that you get the most current information possible. And I guess another reason why I'm excited to have you reach out to these schools is because I really want to start getting you all in the habit of contacting your schools, because, this will help you feel a lot more comfortable with reaching out, emailing, calling, your dream colleges when you have a question or you just need support on anything in particular. Third thing I want you to do is I want you to ask around your, within your community. You want to ask about any local organizations, any, local foundations that may offer scholarships. And what do I mean by that? So a good place to start, and this is just a good place to start. There are going to be other suggestions, but what I recommend you all do is find someone who's a part of a historically black fraternity or sorority, or someone who is a part of a Hispanic fraternity, serving fraternity or sorority, and see if one of those organizations offer any scholarships for students going to college. I know, many of them do, and I know this because a lot of my friends are a part of the Divine Nine, and when I was in high school, I was fortunate to win a scholarship from one of the Divine Nines. Fourth recommendation, I said it earlier, I'm going to say it again. There are tons of scholarship websites for you to use, but just keep in mind what I mentioned earlier about making sure that those sites are trustworthy. Okay, let's move along. So now that we've talked about some places where you can find those scholarships, I want to give you 5 things to remember when you are applying for scholarships. Okay, step 1, One thing I want you to keep in mind when applying for scholarship money is that organizations that are giving out this money, they are usually focused on more than just giving away money. Okay. So when working on your essays for any scholarship application, I want you to ask yourself, what problem is this organization trying to solve? Let me give you an example. All right. So some organizations, may want to, let's say, increase the number of students of color who pursue careers in science, math, technology, international affairs, you can name more, I'm sure, right? Other organizations may want to eliminate financial barriers for first generation or undocumented students to pursue their college education. And here's the reason why you want to understand the goals, the purpose of these organizations. The reason why is because, you know, this will help you. Understanding their purpose will help you figure out what you want to write about in your scholarship essays. So, like a, let's just think about this. For example, let's just say that you already know that an organization that's wanting to give out some scholarship money. Let's say that they want to, let me figure out something. Let's say they want to increase the number of students who want to become computer programmers. Then you want to talk about in your essays what sparked your interest in programming computers, or how, for example, you took every computer class in high school because you just had a huge appetite to learn as much as possible about computers. Second thing I want you to do here is, I haven't personally, I mean, I'm sure it exists, but I haven't seen a scholarship application that doesn't ask for um, individual students to write an essay. Again, I'm sure some exist, but I just haven't seen one yet. So that means you have to put in some work to write the best possible essay. And you want to make sure you write your story, okay? Not my story, not your friend's story, but your story, because your story is super important. And here's the thing, if you're passionate about human rights, then write about that. If you're passionate about science, write about that. Don't spend any time writing what you think they, and when I say they, I mean the scholarship people, what you think they want to hear, because they're going to see right through that. Okay, the third thing I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and start identifying 2 or 3 teachers. They could be members of your community, your mentors, and let them know that you would love for them to write a recommendation letter for you when the time comes. So I get asked by students and parents, how important are these recommendation letters? Do they really carry any weight? And my answer is yes, they do. Okay, recommendation letters carry weight because they give the scholarship people a chance to learn more about the kind of student you are. And if you had, let's say, a dip or just like a low moment in your academic performance, those recommendation letters can allow the scholarship people a chance to see what might have caused that. And let's just say that one of your teachers writes a really great recommendation letter for you on your behalf, and they, you know, your teacher can talk about how you are a hardworking student, you're very diligent, you put a lot of effort into your work, you made time to come for office hours, you were fully committed to learn as much as possible, and they can talk about how you were all of these great qualities even though it did not fully reflect itself in the outcome of the grade that you received. All right, let's keep it moving. So fourth thing I want you to do is make sure that you have other people read your essays to help you catch any typos, because we all make them. We all do. And you also want to have someone else read it because, it just kind of, you are those those folks who read your essays are helping to make sure that what you're trying to communicate is clear to someone else. All right, you just want to have an extra set of people to review your essays. Fifth step I want you all to do, and this is the final one. We're gonna move along. I don't want you to just focus on scholarships that can offer you a full ride. Okay, it's really important because some students get caught and they get stuck with only trying to find those all expense paid scholarships because those are important, but those are not the only one. I want you to also be looking for smaller scholarships, okay, because those smaller scholarships can add up if you get a lot of them. All right, so I want to change gears here and talk about some helpful financial literacy tools. Specifically, just want to talk about how to help you determine where to best invest your scholarship money, especially after you have put so much time and effort into finding scholarship money for college. And so I want to make sure that you are, that you are going to be smart about how and where to invest that money. So the first thing I want to go over, very first financial literacy tool is called College Navigator, which will give you a direct link to nearly 7,000 colleges and career schools. And it also, it gives you an opportunity to learn a lot about colleges because oftentimes when we think or when we talk about college, we think about the cost or the graduation rates, but there are so many other important things for you to keep in mind. Things like, program of study, enrollment, housing. I mean, those is just name really a few of them, location, because that might be something that's really important for you, entrance requirements, and so forth. All right, let's move to the next slide. And I want to just talk about another tool called the College Scorecard, which is a really interactive resource that, is really trying to help students, help families, make really smart decisions about where to enroll for college. And it does it by highlighting key indicators about the cost and also the value of the institution. Um, and they look at institutions across the country. And one thing about the college scorecard is that it gives you clear information, again, in a very interactive way, and it's really trying to allow you the opportunity to choose among, and it gives you this option, enables you to choose among a number of options based on what would work best for you, whether we're talking about cost, graduation rate, the rate of students that default on their loans, which might be an indicator that students who graduate from a particular institutions are not finding jobs to pay back those loans. Also, average salary of students who graduated from that institution. Plus these scorecards will take the schools you are interested in and compare them to national averages. And finally, I want to briefly go over another financial tool called the Net Price Calculator, which you can find on the website of schools you are interested in attending. And essentially, this tool, this online tool, will give you the opportunity to just enter, basic information about the size of your household and your income. And then it will generate an estimate of what it will cost to attend, that institution. So that is it for today's web class. But if there are things that we didn't discuss that you want to find more information to that I didn't go over, but you need more support, I want you to make sure to reach out to your high school counselor, or you want to call or email your Dreams College's financial aid office, or just go online. You want to Google some resources, and as you can see, here. And then for those of you who are on the call, you want to go to finded.org or studentaid.ed.gov to get answers to questions about how to pay for college, how to find scholarship money for college. And for those of you on the call, those of you who are new to the web class, you definitely know that you can find this webinar on our scholarnavigator.org webpage where you can watch the presentation so you can get the exact you can see the links to where these resources can be found. Okay? All right. So while I am going to talk about your homework assignment, I want you all to go ahead and start typing in your questions. We're not going to spend a lot of time, but I'm definitely going to just do a quick homework assignment. Basically, I want you all to register for our next web class, which is going to take place on February the 25th in 2 weeks at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for those of you who are on the West Coast. And we're going to be talking about, how to be very responsible if you decide to borrow or take out loans for college. And you can register for this upcoming course class by going to www.scholarnavigator.org. And there you're going to also see other webinars that you might find super exciting and that you can register for free. Alrighty. So here's a question. Is it too late to apply for the Gates Millennium Scholarship? And the answer to that question is yes. But let me explain why. All right, so the 2017 application is simply not available. And the reason why is because the program's last year was with the class of 2016. And congratulations to those scholars. All right, so it looks like we don't have any other questions. So with that, I guess I will say it's been great, people. Have a wonderful afternoon. Talk soon and take care. Bye now.